What is the deal, y'all? Back with another episode of the Rock Bros Media Podcast. Give your life to Bitcoin. This is season one. Today, I'm piloting an episode around personal accountability, especially amongst young men and the Black community. And I got a very special guest, a good buddy of mine. This guy's basically like a brother to me. We've known each other for over a decade now. Been through the ups and downs together. So this is somebody who I know who really has a lot of personal accountability amongst himself. When he say he's going to do something, when he put his mind to doing something, I seen the man go do it. And you just got to take your hats off to somebody who don't just talk about it. They walk about it. You know what I mean? And this is one of those individuals. So I'm excited to bring him up for this discussion. It's my buddy Ken, man. What's going on, brother?
Mr. Rocks, how you doing, man? Nice
Doing
to
good,
nice
man.
to
I
be a part of the
appreciate you.
show.
Yes, sir, man. I give you, a couple minutes, introduce yourself, let the folks know what your background is and, kind of what you got going on, bro.
Well, um, I'm happy to be a part of the show again. As you know, this is my first time. I'm engaging in a discussion of this form on a platform other than us just talking amongst each other on the phone, in person, But just a little bit about myself, to not get, too much into detail. At the moment, currently, I'm an insurance adjuster, insurance claims adjuster. In fact, I do property claims right now. As far as like hurricane season, person have hail damage, wind damage, internal water damage, things of that nature. But I'm also currently right now at the moment in my last semester of nursing school, RN, and so that's just what I'm currently doing at the moment. To not get into too much. Is there anything that you want to know?
Yes,
Any
sir, man.
question
I'm,
that you
I'm
have?
definitely curious, man. Just enlighten the folks, man, because I know adjusting is kind of like it's kind of one of those trades that you kind of got to find. It doesn't just lend itself to you. You kind of got to ask more questions, dig for more answers.
Absolutely.
So, how did you get your foot in the door with something like adjusting?
Well, to be honest with you, how I got my foot in the door is a family member of mine, an uncle, good, like a brother almost to me, even though he's my uncle. I just used to watch him and his crew. They were insurance adjusters, and I used to watch them, not knowing what it was that they were doing, what the job title was. I used to just watch them, you know, handle claims, as far as house claims with fires. And I seen that the lifestyle that they were living amongst each other. And I just one day I was like, oh man, what is it that you all do? And he actually told me, what is it that they did. And I started doing my research on it immediately. And the research that I was doing, the things that I was reading, it was like, man, seems too good to be true.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, I see them living it, but not like, like what I'm reading. And so I had to go and figure out for myself, is this something that is actually what I'm reading about and also somewhat seeing as well too on a day to day.
Okay.
So, from that point on, I went to insurance adjusting school to go, get certified.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, man. Because again, we had these discussions off camera a lot. We talk about just these hidden industries that a lot of people don't really know about, and that prompted this discussion. We know individuals in our lives who are they're basically victims of what we're experiencing right now, economically, politically, whatever you want to call it. All of us are victims to some extent, but I know some of us are we're dealing with it harder than others. And that's what prompted us to create this podcast in the first place, to give your life to Bitcoin podcast, because I feel like all roads lead to here anyway. So I'm pretty much, one of those early pioneers that just kind of want to get my foot in the door and just kind of get established before all the other settlers come move in. So I feel like I'm kind of dancing back and forth in between these two worlds. You got
Hmm.
the Bitcoin world, then I got to come back to the real world where I'm seeing my people struggle. And then you got guys who don't want to be, they don't want to take a route that has a little uncertainty to it. Everybody wants certainty when we don't realize that certainty is really a gift from God, bro. If you were so certain about everything, why even get out of bed in the morning if you just knew? So the uncertainty is the thing that motivates us. It gets us out the bed and it keeps us trying. You mentioned yourself, enrolling in nursing school. There's a lot of uncertainties taking a path like that, but how would you know if you never tried? So,
Right.
just kudos to you, man, for just being relentless and chasing after it.
I
Um,
mean, one would say, why am I going to nursing school right now when I'm already, okay? I have a career, I'm doing okay. Um, why am I going to nursing school? And it's just because it's something that I've always wanted to accomplish. I went to school in the medical field early on when I was around 19, 20 years old. Got away from it to go and get into the insurance industry so I could make money and never got to finish. So I have children and I want to be able to tell them what daddy did for them. I'm gonna tell them to possibly go to school just to get an education when I didn't go and achieve it myself. That's just my own personal, you know, beliefs. Doesn't have to be for everybody, but I want to be able to talk the talk and walk it as well too. And it's easier for somebody to go along with you in the path when they see that you also did it as well too. Just my opinion on that.
okay. Speaking of having children, right? As a father, what what principles do you instill when it comes to trying to teach a child or teach a growing young man personal accountability, within his life? A lot of people like to take the path of, maybe blaming outside circumstances for where they are. But when personal accountability is blaming yourself and deciding deliberately that you're going to be the one to make that change. So for you, what has that process been like? I know you're a few years in now. You got a young man, you got older man, older young man. What has that process been like for you?
Well, I mean, just in general, not even just my children, it would depend on what age demographic that you're wanting me to give this response to, because it would be a different response for different age groups, and so what age group in mind would you like me to dwell on?
Let's go 18 to 25.
Okay. And this 18 to 25-year-old individual, what are some, little things that they possibly may be going through?
Let's say you just got out of college, um, or you in between high school and college. You kind of don't really know what you want to do in life. You're still living with your parents. Uh, you know, blaming outside circumstances for where you are, and just trying to get your feet underneath you.
Well, in my opinion, you really have to, you can't blame other people for your problems, you know, especially being a young man, right? Yes, there are circumstances that we get dealt bad hands. And don't get me wrong, it's hard during those times when you get dealt those bad hands. But we got to always take accountability too, and sometimes look in the mirror and see what you could have done better as well too, you know. And so as far as accountability goes, can't really blame everybody else if you're not in the position that you want to be in. Doesn't matter if you didn't have a mother, a loving mother or a father in the household, parents at all. Just in my opinion, those are valid excuses to why you don't maybe have the mindset of someone else that did have those things. That is a valid reason, but it's not something that you should dwell on and speak on being a reason why you're in that situation, because you can always get yourself out of a situation. It
Hmm.
may not take a day or two, may not take a week or two, month or two. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time.
Okay. Um, obviously, I got a lot of people in my life. Like I said, I've had these exact discussions with. I got a young son, but most of these conversation threads are amongst peers who might be, a few years younger than me, who they got whatever going on, bro. And right now, this is why, like, I'm just prompting people, like, give your life to Bitcoin. And I kind of meant it in a way that is kind of like a slight towards when people tell you, hey, give your life to Christianity, give your life to God. I'm putting a spin on that by saying, give your life to Bitcoin, something with actual tangibility. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Actual tangibility, because I just feel like all roads is going to lead you here. Like, no matter what path you take, like right now, man, if you having financial problems, right? You just cannot seem to get ahead. You make 70, 80,000 a year. You got credit card debt, you student loan debt, you don't own your car. You got all this stuff working against you, and you just got to kind of sit up and ask yourself, how do I get off of this wheel? How do I not be the hamster that's stuck on this wheel and get myself ahead? And I think it's going to be a real uncomfortable transition for a lot of people who don't understand or know about this emergent protocol that's been around for 17 years unbothered. And so I'm just curious from your perspective, your introduction to Bitcoin in general, like when you first heard about it, what did you initially what was your initial thoughts?
Well, I got introduced to Bitcoin unconventionally around about 2012, 13, somewhere around that area. But it was on a black market kind of a situation that I just knew of. I'm like, wow, I didn't know that that was a thing, but nobody was, trying to save Bitcoin, hold it. They were just obtaining Bitcoin and using that Bitcoin for purchases. I'm like, oh, okay. Forgot all about it, never thought about it again as the years went on. And I forgot exactly what year it was, just busted back up on the scene. And, I don't know as far as all the ins and outs. For me, it's an investment, right? I don't have to always, for me, know all the ins and ups and downs on an investment. I know enough to know that it's a good investment. It's a potential for it to be a great investment, and nothing in life is guaranteed. And so that's what I know about it. I know that it's a potential for it to be something as far as lines of how, you know, the older individuals that we know that we can look up to that were able to purchase stocks for very low prices and get up out of the rabbit hole. There was only a couple of instances of that in life that happened. This doesn't happen often. And so
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is the potential for it to be one of those situations where, 20, 30 years from now, that could be us that everybody's looking at like, wow, they were smart and continue to invest. And, at the time, Bitcoin, and when I really, really started to understand what it was around 10, 15,000 at the time. Should have been pouring everything in it at that time. But what people don't realize is that it's still not, it's still not even hasn't touched, hasn't even touched where it's gonna go to in the future. So it's still not too late. So that's my 2 cents right now.
I love how you talked about Bitcoin being an investment. It's a good investment. For those of us who are fully orange pilled, it's no longer an investment. That's an insult. It's a way of life now. This is a way of life. Only thing I'm missing on my body now is the tattoos. I mean, they better hope I don't get one on my fucking face, but I won't be that obvious. Obviously, the Bible says, "Thou shalt have no god before me." Deep wisdom. I get it. It's like, hey man, don't never worship earthly things. But I do feel like Bitcoin is alien technology. It's not from the earth. It is from God Himself. Um, what I love about it, it's not a get rich quick scheme. A lot of our peers, man, they are. It's not even a fault. They're dollarized, and when you're dollarized, your time horizons look different than everybody else. When you're deep into this dollar game, you need shit to happen very rapidly, very fucking fast. Uh, so if you put your money in the investment opportunity, you kind of need that opportunity to kind of pan out. Maximum, the average person is gonna give it 6 months. If this thing don't appreciate astronomically in 6 months, it was a bad investment. I'm pulling my money. And Bitcoin basically puts a middle finger to all of those models. What it's doing is it's reversing the effect of currency debasement against you. So you and I, we both have our careers. We get up every morning, brush our teeth, eat, drink our coffee, prepare our breakfast, and go to work. And all of that time we sacrifice away from our families at work is being sucked away from us through a process we have absolutely no say so and no control over. And that's debasement. Debasement has destroyed empires for thousands and thousands of years. And the most famous case is the Roman Empire. We know Rome was a very luxurious, wealthy, composed society, like orderly, like the most advanced civilization had ever seen. And this is BC, bro. And ultimately, they had succumbed to the same things that we're witnessing today. Nobody can agree on anything politically. The country is being flooded with foreigners. They talked about Rome's foreigner population. At some point, they just started inviting foreigners in and just like trying to teach them the way of life. And but around the time that Rome actually collapsed, there were no more Romans there. It was completely taken over by outsiders. And so, what I appreciate about history is the shit rhymes. It repeats itself over and over. And if you
Mhm.
don't learn from those
Yeah.
lessons, then you'll never beat them. You'll just be victim to make the same mistakes. And during the end of the Roman Empire, a lot of them turned themselves into gamblers. They became gamblers because the currency was so debased that you
Mm.
had to do something with the money. You couldn't just watch it just melt in your hand. You had to take action with it. So a lot of them became gamblers. Guys would go down to the Coliseum and gamble. You know what I mean? The Coliseum was basically their version of social media. You want to know what's going on in the town. You want to keep up with the latest. You want to watch somebody get their head chopped off. Like that was like
Yeah.
downtown. Like, hey, we headed down. We headed to the Coliseum tonight. And so that kept the government used it as a weapon to keep the population basically just distracted. They were running deficits. They were, getting in absurd amounts of debt, bro, to continue to fund all of the overhead associated with running the Coliseum. Even though they were running a deficit, they would just debase the
Mm.
currency more, or even invade other countries, take their resources and use that to pay for the upkeep of the Coliseum. And when Rome finally did collapse, there was like no major news articles, New York Times. There was no television broadcast, no radio broadcast. It was just something that you had to understand for yourself. And that's why, like, I'm a little nervous, bro, where we are in this day and age, being around, the people that you and I that we care and love, and we spend a lot of our time with, who just they just can't seem to wake up to
Yeah.
the reality that's in front of them. They don't realize what's happening. They don't realize that the rug is being snatched right from underneath their feet. And I just want to have more discussions like this as an opportunity to kind of, bring everybody's insight to the table and share what knowledge we might have come across, or what information we might have found that could be helpful to the next. So earlier today, you mentioned a young man to me who is he kind of bounced from job to job, but kind of came on hard times in his life, and now he's kind of trying to find what fits him. Trying to find a new career
Mhm.
path, something he can build
Yeah.
a foundation on top of. Can you talk a little bit about what your discussions with this individual has been like, and what advice you might have had for him? maybe a little bit of background.
Yeah, no problem. So today I had a real good discussion with an old friend that I haven't really talked to in some years. Um, recently got reacquainted over the past couple weeks. Okay. And so, it started off with, we understand how life goes, need a little bit of small assistance. Okay. It's no problem. Here you go. But we had a long talk today because he started telling me a little bit about, some life things that he has going on, right? And before we get into all of that, you know, when I tell you he's a hardworking guy, right? Hardworking guy, takes care of his kid, single dad. His son is with him, has been with him since 1 years old. He works, whenever he can, get a job, he works, but he just can't seem to keeps gonna get in the bad end of the stick, with life, right? And I hate to see, a person that I know going through that, right? Even though I know you can't save them all, but somebody that I know his mom, he knows my mom, you know, we done been to church together, we done been through life together, even though we haven't talked for a very long time, we had real life situations together, And so I hate to see him not being able to get up out the rabbit hole, you know. And so I'm listening to him, and as he's talking, I'm already thinking about, okay, you already know me. My best way of how I feel that I can help somebody is to help them better through their situation with getting more money into their pocket on their own. That's the best way that I know that I can help somebody is to put them in a position to make their own money and a decent amount of money too. Not just trying to get them out of the constant switching jobs. Getting older, he wants a career, 401k. He has a son.
Solid
He wants to be able
foundation.
to a solid foundation. And I've watched the people around me grow, even yourself, life change, from what we'll probably discuss here, later on, And so as he's telling me, things about what he's going through, I'm already thinking and plotting in my head, okay, what can I do? What he'll be good at? I immediately started thinking about, you. And I'm like, okay, I listen, I listen, I listen. And before I even, started telling him about what I was gonna do for him, I kind of started giving him a little bit of, you know, tough love, not letting him hear what he wants to hear,
Brother to brother.
and trying to blame, like you were saying earlier, just trying to blame everybody else for the situation that they're in, and I'm just like, bro, look, man, can't do that, man. We men, don't nobody owe us anything at the end of the day. Would it be nice to have things? Yes. Have I been helped out? I've been helped out, yes, plenty of times, right? By you and your family, We all need help at some point, but you gotta get to a point where you don't need any help, man. You gotta
Hmm.
and then comfortability, I never stayed into a situation long. I was always gone. You don't never want to get too comfortable. So I'm listening to him, talking to him. Like, look, pretty much to keep a long story short, I'm like, stop blaming pretty much people for your problems, man. Even if you think that you're right, you're wrong. Just as a man, we gotta take accountability more with just accepting that you can't depend on nobody. Not saying that people don't care about you and they don't love you, but everybody is going through life right now, right? Everybody has situations that you don't even know about because they don't talk about them. So it's hard for somebody to be able to constantly come through for you, because
Hmm.
they're also going through it as well too. So you can't get mad and think that people are trying to slight you and they don't care about you and you're using that and and just it's getting you so mad and worked up. It's just like you kind of just get out of that. That's what I'm telling him. Get out of that mindset. We nobody is here, man, to help us. If you get help, cool, but you gotta live thinking that you gotta be able to take care of your own self. As a man, don't nobody owe us anything. Don't let people, I'll have a conversation even with my, somebody that I know, right? A woman. And I'm trying to tell them this same conversation, not this same conversation, but the same scenario. And I'm like, as a man, you can't make us too comfortable. Yes, we need help at times, and that's okay. And it's very appreciative when we do get help, but you can't give a man help for too long because it just enables them and you get too comfortable. You gotta let a man struggle, gotta struggle. Even if you can save them from their struggles, gotta you gotta let them struggle to be able to learn how to not struggle anymore. Because you sometimes when you struggle so hard and you actually fix it, you're not gonna want to be in that same struggle ever again. So you're gonna hold on to it for dear life. But having somebody constantly help you every time you get into a situation and you get bailed out, it just doesn't do any good for you in the long run. And then they're like, oh well, I can do it. It's my blessings. And I'm like, yes, that's fine. Yes, you can do it. You can afford it. You feel that you get your blessings from it. All that is fine. But you're hurting them in the long run by not letting them figure out life on their own. And like it is not a comfortable conversation to have. For instance, if you've been having someone stand in your house that's a grown man for 8 months, they ain't got no money saved up, you know, they're working, but no money saved up. They're comfortable, right? They're going on trips, they're doing living life, right? They're comfortable,
Whoa,
right? They just look comfortable living in the room, right? And that's okay because you're allowing them to be comfortable. But when you make a person uncomfortable, that's when they realize that they have to do better for themselves, and it helps them in the long run. They might get upset if you say, hey man, look, you've been here 8 months, you ain't been doing this, you haven't been doing that. You got one more month left. And no matter what is going on, love you, but got to get up out of here.
hmm
That's a tough conversation to have with somebody that you love, right? But that's a conversation that will need to take place in order if you want that person to, in the long run, be a better individual. That's just how I feel about it. It may not be right, but I just feel like it hinders a man when you constantly bail them out of a situation and help them too many times. Like I said, we do need help at times, but bailing us out too many times, it's just not good, in my opinion.
bailing us out and bailing your kids out if your kids find themselves in the jam is you're removing their ability to experience personal accountability. Sam Walton used to talk about, this is a billionaire, multi-billionaire. Guy was worth shit, hundreds of billions of dollars at some point. And he said the only thing that used to keep him up at night is trying to figure out how can he raise kids that aren't spoiled and entitled. Like that would literally he would roll over at 3 o'clock in the morning and be having that conversation with his wife. Like, how do we make sure these kids ain't just entitled? Like, I want them to still be go-getters. I still want them to know like hustle values. And he realized he wasn't gonna be able to make it easy for him. He had to challenge them.
Yeah.
And if I seen my kid, my 3-year-old getting ready to walk off a cliff, I'm not gonna let him do it. I know the cliff is gonna be the end of his life, so I probably steer him in the other direction. But if I see him about to touch some fire, I might let him get burnt because that fire teach you after you touch it the first time, you like, oh, never again. And
Hmm.
thus the beginning of the personal accountability process. He's like, let me never make this mistake ever again. I don't like the way this is making me feel. And so, like you said, for the individual that's staying in somebody's home, I remember when all of a sudden I was no longer a child in my mother's home. I was a man walking around my mother's home, and that changed everything. All of a sudden, I had everything I did, especially if I wasn't generating revenue. I had to just look busy as fuck, no matter what I did. Turn on this computer and make it look like I'm filling out job applications or something.
Yeah.
And I remember that uncomfortable feeling of just, I'm not gonna say not feeling welcome, but in a place where I knew I didn't ultimately belong. Like I know this is a
Mm,
place I grew up, but I don't belong here, man. I belong in an environment where I set the rules, I set the parameters. I'm not being told what to
mm,
do by another grown up. You know what I mean? I might as well be in prison at that point if I want other grown ups telling me what to do. So it all goes back, man, in that personal accountability conversation. And
And I got a
you
question though
mentioned.
for you.
Go ahead. What you got?
Sorry to cut you off. What if it was the opposite? What if it was so lovely at home as an adult, right? And it was so perfect. You could do whatever you wanted to at home. Mom ain't bothering you. She don't care. You ain't even got to fake like you doing anything because she don't even care. She's not questioning you, asking you nothing. You could just do whatever you want to do, fly by every night. You would have never had left there, man. It would have been a while for you left something like that, man.
I would not have a
It would
child
have been a
right
while,
now.
man.
I would not
It,
know
it,
my
it
son.
would have been a while, man.
I would not
And
have
that's
his
not,
ring on my finger.
yeah. It's
I
not to
would
say
be
that you didn't
way too
struggle either.
comfortable.
Like, it's not to say that you haven't learned, like you don't have to crawl and struggle and claw, from being out here. You had to, I know a little bit, a lot of it, you had to crawl and claw. But I know that you would rather have got out of there and because you've learned a lot. You've learned a lot. And that's what I can appreciate. I used to be upset about, oh, my mom didn't do this, my mom didn't do that. Oh, I had this hand I was dealt. Man, that made me into the monster that I am. And I have no animosity. She don't even know that. I don't think she did it on purpose to to build this person. It just happened from having to be out here like on my own. Literally. Like, I filled out my own college application, my own FAFSA. Like I've been out here on my own, like and like no guidance. But it made me the monster though that I am. Is that's why I firmly believe in not holding, hand. I'm always gonna be there. Always.
Hmm.
Like my son, he can come and go for as long as he lives, but he have to go. He has to go and figure out life and fail. I don't care if he fail and needs a little help for a little bit. Come on, their room will still stay the same, but bounce back, get back out there again. You know, and one of these times you'll figure it out where you ain't gotta never come back again.
Yeah.
But man, you got to get out here, man. You got out here. Like if it was comfortable, you would have never got out here.
So my mom did instinctually what she was supposed to do. Same thing your mom did. Instinctually, is I gotta make you uncomfortable because I know I'm
Mm,
raising a man. I'm not raising a woman. This is a man I'm raising, and I have to teach that man how to navigate muddy waters. And we're in our 30s now, man. We've seen the water get pretty fucking muddy. Even the first time, you invited me out to Texas, and I just came to see what the water was like. In foreign land, not knowing a lot of people outside of yourself. I remember, sleeping in the car at some point and just needing all the assistance I could get. But I always go back to them personal conversations that I was having amongst myself. And those conversations, for the most part, were empowering. I was empowering myself in those dark moments. Like, you're going to get out of this, right? You're going to see
mm,
a better circumstance one day, right? And
yeah,
that conversation that's happening up here is the only conversation that matters.
yeah,
Everybody else's opinions around the situation that you in, the struggle that you're going through is completely irrelevant. As long as that conversation here is an empowering one. But when your mind is working against you through all of these uncomfortable situations that you might find yourself in, the muddy waters that you might have to navigate, if your mind is working against you and all of that, you damn near don't really even stand a chance, honestly. It's
yeah.
all you got.
Mm,
And God rest his soul, my brother Helios Hussein, man. We lost a heavyweight Christmas 2024. This was somebody my whole entire life I knew who had that mental strength that you couldn't even compare to. It was his mental strength was on a different level. He was
Yeah.
unbreakable until he was broken. And I watched how it changed his entire trajectory in a different direction and ultimately, cost him his life. And so that's the reason why, like, when I see people now just kind of, I just see them kind of just buffering. They're on this edge of like, I want to go out, I want to do something great, but I don't know if I'm ready. And the trick about being ready is it's not a feeling. It's not this random miraculous feeling you get. It's a decision that you make. And when more people realize that, like, I got to prepare myself to go out, be willing to fail, and see what I can gather from the mistakes that I made. And it's the people who are afraid to go out and hit their head that you notice they actually never go anywhere in life. You
Yeah.
you kind of end up lapping them quite a few times. You come back to the block like, y'all still here. Drake said it in one
Man.
of his songs, like, "What's good at home? What's good at home? The same hoes is still at it. I should have known."
Man.
People up to the same shit, man, and you gotta seek something more, bro, because it's so
Mhm.
much more out here. But it all starts with holding yourself personally accountable. So no matter what
Mhm.
happens to you, if you're not willing to say to yourself, "This is all my fault," you are disempowering yourself. Because if another
Yeah.
entity or another outside source got you in this predicament, it's up to them to get you out of it. You're stuck.
Mhm. Yeah, it may not be all your fault of why you're in the situation that you're in, but you need to tell yourself that it is all your fault and just get out of that situation the best way you can. You know, all that whole sulking and crying and stuff, man, about what others ain't doing for you. That's not it, man.
I've been down that road, man. It's a dark place.
But,
It's a dark place,
yeah,
and you don't get out of it until you tell yourself the truth
yeah,
about why you are where you are. And like you said, I'm not too far removed myself from being in, like, one of the darkest places in my life, being a father and a spouse, but not being able to meet my end of the bargain as a man. You know what I'm saying? That is a lot of a man's confidence is tied up into his financial situation. So if you want to break a man's confidence,
absolutely.
you just
Yeah,
you damage his financial situation. And so
it
I've
is.
watched my
It's
brothers suffer directly because of their financial situations.
and it's also unfortunate, but I mean, in some situations, a man is only really loved and valued by his financial situation, and how much financial situation they bring to your life determines how much of the respect level that that man gets. It shouldn't be like that, but for some men, unfortunately, they're in situations where you got to be financially good in order to be getting the type of respect that you want.
Ooh,
Crazy, man.
that is tough, bro. That is scary, but also too, it reminds me of what we grew up experiencing in our community in Detroit specifically. We grew up listening to the Doughboy Cash Outs of the world, the Team East Sides of the world. And if it's anything that we learn from these guys, it is get to your fucking bag. Or as Doughboys will say, boss your life up. That became a movement here in Detroit when we tried to inspire the young men, the young entrepreneurs around the world. Like, yo, look, boss your life up. You could be in your teens, young man. If you got a job, make that job work. Stack your money. Don't try to flash till the time is right. Boss your life up. But on the flip side, what we also seen is, we seen them flashing jewelry. We've seen expensive and exotic cars, luxury clothing items. They will carry around, like, these massive stacks of money, what we call bands. They would carry around bands, and we would see them get all the girls, and we would ask ourselves, like, dang, like, what I got to do to make money like that? Do I got to do something illegal? Can I take legal routes to get the same results that I see y'all experiencing? Um, and I think as a young man, it could really, like, lead you down the wrong path of thinking that this is what success actually looks like. You know what I mean?
And I don't know if it um I don't know when that call came in. Did it cut me out?
You're good. You're good.
Okay, okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I had missed a little bit about what you were saying there.
So yeah, I was just basically saying, how growing up under the influence of, Detroit rappers that we came up under. For instance, the Doughboy Cash Outs of the world, the Team East Sides of the world, the band gangs. These people, little do they know, they might know. Some of I'm sure Peasy know at his level of wisdom. Payroll knows the level of influence that they had over the young men and women around the city. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, wanting to hustle harder and do what? Buy lug, boss your life up. That became a worldwide movement of young people just trying to put themselves in a better position. But then
Mm-hmm.
you start getting into the whole legality of what you're experiencing, right? You see these guys carrying around massive stacks of money, and you like, damn, am I doing something wrong? You see them around beautiful women in a music video, and you like, dang, so I just gotta, have this type of money. I gotta wear this type of clothes and drive these type of cars, and I can get the same results that they're getting. And then you start thinking unethically. It's like, okay, well, I don't want to go to school for 5 years to be like this. I want to do it while I'm young, while I'm their age. You know, and I think it can kind of skew our perception of the path that we should take to kind of get to these same results. But you and I talked about it, how really the trades is a cheat code. Understanding like trades at an early age, finding a discipline to get into and study in will put you astronomically ahead of a lot of your peers who just out here dabbling and trying to experiment with shit. Everybody I know who was in the
One hundred
trades,
percent.
guess what? They're not calling your phone asking to borrow nothing. They're
Man.
taking care of theirs. They handling
Yep.
theirs, providing for theirs.
No, literally, literally, absolutely. I was fortunate enough to. I got started in my trade at about 24. I've been kind of well off, been able to maintain my own self and family and my family since around fully about 26. And now, man, being 8, 9 years in, you already know. Having that much time into, a trade, like you say, you run, I mean, just another way of living for those that just don't want to go a traditional route,
Hmm.
you know. And that's only for some people just don't want to do anything, right? But some people actually just don't know what to do um until they hear about it, you know. But it's ultimately it's everything, electrician, HVAC, you know, I'm a handyman, um, I fix on houses. All those people that I know that do those things that started off doing them at a young age, they may not be Elon Musk wealthy, but they have families and they support their families, and they're able to have a decent living, which is all we can ask for. You know,
Hmm.
if we can get more than that, that's amazing. But at the least we can ask for is to have, the ability to be able to take care of our family, you know, your wife and children, and be able to somewhat enjoy a little bit of, traveling and stuff, things of that nature. Um, of course, the people, it goes both ways. Because of course, also the people that I know that have went to school, they are also doing well in life, very well. Two of our close friends are doing very well. Um, Not even two, we can keep going. I just thought about another one, that's three. Then one more, that's four, that actually went to school that are doing amazing. So it goes both ways. So
Hmm.
it's just no excuse unless you just don't want to do anything. If you just want to just sit around, and that's okay. Work the little in and out little factory job here and there. But if you want to be able to maintain yourself and your family in the future, You gotta start working on something, whether it be showing the dedication and grind that it takes to obtain a 4-year degree, because that's not easy, or whether it's taking the time to build up your resume with one trade to master it. But you're gonna, both of those pathways can lead you to somewhat of being able to maintain a decent, living. But you have to just figure out, what you want to do, you know.
Hmm. And that's actually getting more and more difficult, right? For you to ask a young person to do fresh out of high school. You got all of these options in their face. They like, I could be a TikToker, I could be a streamer, I could be a YouTube, I could be a lawyer, I could be a doctor. They got an infinite amount of options of the path that they should take. And the scariest thing for them to do is just pick one. Because as soon as you have a preliminary choice, you start thinking like, all right, but what if that don't work out? What if I don't get the you can't think about the parallel timelines. You can't think about the alternate timeline that you have no control over. What you need to do is hold conviction within and understand that listen, man, God is never going to steer you in the wrong direction. So just pick something and then somehow you're going to realize that that was ultimately where you were supposed to be if that thing doesn't pivot you in another direction.
What do you
Because
think about
sometimes
this?
that's what it takes to find your career. You go into something you really don't like and it pivots you where you were supposed to be the whole time.
What do you think about this? What also could possibly help too, you know, is us as parents. Remember how when we were growing up, our parents, they may not have meant it, but they used to say a lot, oh, when you get 18, you getting shit, you know what, up out of here. I don't care what's going on, but I can't wait till you turn 18. Like, 'cause you go.
Yeah.
Better be in somebody's school or something. You out of here, right? And now I understand, I would say the same thing and knowing that I don't mean it, knowing I'm just, talking, mess, but they never made it seem like they were talking mess. They made it seem like it was real
They sound
deal,
real serious.
real serious.
And you
And
were
so it's like
serious
it's
too. Like, well, when I turn 18, I'm about to be doing all this.
right, yeah, like if you keep on you get tired of hearing, you know what I'm saying? Oh, 18, well, you right, yeah. When I get 18, yeah, I'm up out of here. And it's not enough of that though. It's so much of, like you say, bailing the person out, making it too comfortable for them, right? How's a
Yeah.
person gonna go out? How's a person gonna try to figure out and think about kind of trade they want to do if they're comfortable? Got
Hmm.
to make them uncomfortable a little bit so they can realize that they need to figure out something to be able to make some money to live out here in this world. You got to make money to
Right.
live. You got to work. You got to do something to be able to make money, right? But if I'm making it so comfortable for you, yeah, you go get a little job, you know, okay, you want to get a little something in your pocket, you'll go find you something. But you're not trying to find nothing that's longevity career wise. You ain't even thinking about that. You just thinking about making a little bit of money because you're good, you're comfortable. But if you get a little bit of pressure applied to you to make it assume, make it seem like you're gonna not be able to be here, that kind of triggers a person's mindset a little different to, hmm, could I possibly do to make sure I'd be able to, um, have the type of living that I want to have. And sometimes parents say the only way you can stay here is if you in school. It don't matter what you in there for, but you got to be in school, right?
That's our role
And
as fathers, right? Our role, our whole role. Your father has one job, and that's to keep you uncomfortable. See, mama,
yeah,
she gonna put you on the titty, and your daddy is gonna be like, bro, get the fuck out there in the yard and get them leaves up. Like, make yourself useful around this house. You eating up all the food, using all the toilet tissue, uh, running the electric bill up. Get your ass out there in the yard. And you like, damn, I got real responsibilities in life. That's a
yeah.
father's role is to remind you of real life, while your mother try to keep you in this fucking fairy tale world. And some dads need to do a better job too, because obviously we still got eighth place participation trophies, and that's very disrespectful towards the families and the kids who spend that extra time working very hard to be number one. Why are we giving out participation trophies? And that's because we're stripping personal accountability from our children. We're not holding them personally accountable for being the best version
Yeah,
of themselves while they're young. We're allowing them to be mediocre, and
yeah,
we're doing them ultimately a disservice.
man. I preach that so much, man. I preach that so much, but man, it just takes a certain demographic of women to understand that without trying to reverse it on what you're doing. Not about me. Like you said, sometimes a homeless person can give you the best advice because they're fucked up. They could tell you how to not be like this, right? But people don't want to listen to them, though.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's where you get the best advice from a person that's been through things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so it's like we gotta, we know what you can't do. We know that that's not good to, um, not make a man uncomfortable. We know that you can create a beast by making somebody uncomfortable over and over and over again. Keep them uncomfortable. I got your back. I'm not gonna tell you I got your back though until it's like absolutely at the last millisecond of you needing me. You got this. I'm sorry, but it's just because it brings out the best. It literally brings out something in you that you ain't even know. You know, I just watched it happen. I just watched it happen. Person being comfortable had a spat. After the spat, that person went and bossed their life up, as you would say, right? By lug. They would have never had bossed their life up if that spat didn't happen. They would have still been comfortable chilling with their feet up,
Hmm.
but made it a little bit uncomfortable.
Hmm.
What did that little bit of uncomfortability do? Might not like you. It's okay. I'll take that to see you be in a better situation. I'm okay with that. You don't even know that it's a better situation until you gotten into it. Now you're like, oh wow, man, I've been missing out on this situation by being
Right.
comfortable. Like, that's my little quick little 2 cents on that.
But it's why they say life starts outside of your comfort zone, right? You can't experience
Hmm.
real life inside of it. And so
Yeah.
that's why I pride myself on taking opportunities that initially might sound uncomfortable. Even in my career field, in the safety field, being tossed into a leadership role, I just embraced it. The person who was really offered to, they have more experience than me, but they didn't have the wherewithal that I have, and they just kind of folded under pressure. Like, I don't want that responsibility. Give it to him. And I'm like, oh, okay. And that uncomfortability brought out the best. It forced me to
Hmm.
be the best version of myself. You
Yeah.
know, um, so when you're doing something that you genuinely enjoy, because no matter what in life, you're gonna have to deal with shit. When you're doing something you genuinely enjoy, you're willing to go the extra mile for it. You're willing
Yeah.
to stay up a little later than usual to prepare yourself or make the next day a lot easier, um, or to have the best possible pitch deck delivery that you can. You put in the extra work when it's something that you genuinely enjoy, but you're not gonna know what you genuinely enjoy until you get off your ass and just go taste some shit. But
Yeah.
I want to get into something a little not too heavy, but it is kind of heavy. When you talk about being the man of the house, you understand how this economy is shifting right in your face. It's affecting us in ways we can't even quantify. What is that conversation like with your family when you try to explain to them, hey, we need to constantly prepare ourselves for a rainy day, because we've been alive long enough to know rainy days are inevitable. They're gonna come. The only question is, are you gonna have an umbrella?
So let me know if you agree. I can answer that question immediately. I feel like it's not a conversation, right? I feel like as a man, right? There's nothing to talk about. We know what we need to do as far as, keeping the bills as low as possible, saving here and there when possible. We know that. They don't, they don't really, sponsors don't really give, they don't care too much about that, man. They gonna say, yeah, you handle all that stuff, That's usually the response, right? So we gotta just make sure that we put ourselves in a position to be able to be the backup, that they need.
You know what though? They say if you're not a part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So imagine you got a couple, right? Let's say you got a married couple, family, and the husband has a gambling problem, but the wife is always trying to be financially disciplined. In that scenario, the husband is the liability to the family. He's a net negative. He's detrimental to the family if his habit isn't properly managed. Vice versa, let's say you got a man trying to be frugal, trying to be financially fiscal and miserly, uh, but the woman, she likes designer bags, she likes vacations and Instagram and all of this, right? And she's a net negative to the relationship. In that scenario, it's kind of hard to just sit up and say, well, I'll be there if you need me. I'll be that cushion that you need when you
Well,
fall.
no,
I'll
those
catch you.
are, now see, those that's those different situations there, you know. Um, Unfortunately, it'll end up leading to getting rid of that extra baggage. It's going to lead up to that eventually, because you're not going to be able to maintain the individual continuing to be negative. They're just not going to be able to work out. And eventually, it's going to dissolve at some point if you don't turn it around. When it comes to those instances, for me, it's a little bit more of a challenge to touch on that because we're both okay, right? We're both okay. And I know their mindset, right? I know their mindset without having to have a discussion with them. I know they're already good at saving. I know they're good with maintaining good credit. I know these things already, right? And so I'm just fortunate to be able to not have to have those conversations because I'm watching what I want from the both of us take place without even having to have a discussion about it, right? Accounts are decent, not Elon Musk, but I mean they're okay, you know, and I'm watching it progress and grow. That's all you can ask for, right? We don't really have to necessarily talk about it. Um, when things come up, things get handled, you know. They don't always be easy to handle, but they get handled. And then repeat, it's repeat, start saving up again, you always be prepared for a rainy day.
Because obviously to you, I talked about Bitcoin being a lifestyle, and right now I'm in a situation where my wife doesn't necessarily value it the same way that I do, but I understand from a DM I got yesterday on Instagram after posting a picture of my Bitcoin miner. One of my followers, this guy ended up actually becoming a mentee of mine. He was
Mhm.
like, "Bro, what is this?" And after I explained it to him, he was like, "Do you realize you're living in the future?" I'm like, "Yeah, I actually do, man." And like I said, I gotta every now and then I gotta get in the time machine and come back to the past, communicate with y'all, tell y'all what I saw. Like, yo, I'm telling you, people were flying and they had invisibility cloaks. Like, I'm telling y'all this amazing shit I'm seeing from the future, and they're like, this guy's nuts. This guy's crazy.
No, no,
And
exactly, no, exactly.
but I found the hill that I'm willing to die on, bro. And they say never die on a hill unless it provides you a valley to live in. And what I found is something that is in a way fail proof. You mentioned it not being a guarantee, but it is the third guarantee of life outside of death and taxes. You have Bitcoin now. It is an absolute guarantee and it will outlive humanity. That's longer not an opinion of mine. It's an understanding of mine now. With what I've learned, bro. This is my holy Bible right here. And I highly recommend everybody, go get a copy of this Bible right here. This is the Bitcoin white paper. Satoshi
Mm.
Nakamoto wrote this precisely 17 years ago, January 3rd, 2009. He wrote this document, and I don't even think he had an idea of the profound implications that this document existing would have on humanity, to the point to where it's actually going to outlive humanity now. So when we're gone, when we're long gone, humans are no longer in the picture. The AIs will be utilizing the Bitcoin blockchain to transact value with one another, even into interplanetarily, but from planet to planet. They'll be using it as a verifiable, trustless communication network, to transact value with one another. And I just feel like, it can kind of be a disadvantage sometimes if you're not on the same page as your partner in life, your life partner. But what I will say is,
Yeah, I don't think so though. I don't think so. I know I've heard that, but I don't think so because
give me an
like I
example
like
of
I
where it's worked out with two different people on the different pages, or
I may not
going
I
in
may
different
not be able to
directions.
I may not be able to give you an example of the working out because I'm pretty sure with anything you can give half of the same number of examples you can give me of it not working out is the same number of examples as a person can give you of it actually working out. But like I said to you earlier about a different type of a scenario when it comes to remember I was talking to you about how, when you say something messed up to somebody, right? A verbal argument, you say something messed up to somebody, and you in your mind, you do something for them immediately that they should forgive you for, you did something right after you like they should forgive me, but they're still mad. And I told you, I'm like, you can't be upset because that person's not over something that you said to them immediately. Like it's up to them to when they're over it. It's not just because you did something nice, don't mean that the words that you said to them, the hurtful words that you said to them, they're just gonna be over it because you did something nice. No, they need time. So in my mind, that's kind of the same scenario because just because you are fully indwelled doesn't mean that the next person has to, even if that next person is directly into your household, right? Because that person is also their own, they have their own mind, right? And so that's why I don't feel like it's a issue because you're so indwelled in it, you're going to make sure that your family is well off with it, right? And so maybe she enjoys watching you be a master at it and not having to have any care in the world about it because you're the master at it. Right. So I don't see it as a disadvantage. Let me know your thoughts about that, about what I said.
No, so one thing I am grateful for is that, if anything happens to me, she knows my keys, has access to the keys, so the family wealth is in good hands if anything was to happen to me. And that's really all I care about, over the course of
Yeah.
my lifetime while I'm here. I'm the only one that has to give fucks, plant fucks right there. But at least somebody did, right? If there was one person in your
Yeah.
family who put $1 towards Bitcoin back in 2012, the family dynamics could be a lot different right now.
Yeah,
So as long
absolutely.
as one person out the bunch is making sure everybody's good, then
Yeah.
yeah.
Like you
But I
say,
think you still
you
have
gotta
to
know my
be
keys.
the final cause though, like the overall cause, you still gotta be aligned on the cause. What is our cause? You look at a situation like Coretta Scott and Martin King. Basically, he had his faults as a man. He wasn't a perfect man, but Coretta understood clearly the cause. We have a bigger cause here, and we have to be able to get through whatever hiccups we might run into down the road, any obstacles that might get in our way. We got to keep our cause in mind, and we got to build beyond, any imperfections or any shortcomings that we might have as human beings. And so, yeah, y'all might not be interested in the same things exactly, but the cause has to be aligned. Like, hey, we both want to see our families succeed. We both want to put ourselves in a better predicament where we're no longer living in the hoods and we can live in the hills. We both want to see our kids have an option of whether they want to start their own business or go to college. These are causes that you guys can unite behind, even if y'all day to day is not necessarily. You might be into football, she might not be. You might be into fucking cars and mechanics, and she might be into celebrity gossip. But
It's
as
about
long
being
as the cause
supportive,
is aligned.
about being supportive, for each other's differences and respecting
Mm-hmm.
them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it boils down to as well. Also, might not agree on things, but I can say I'm proud of you. I can still acknowledge your hard work that you've been putting in on said thing, and sometimes that's all you need. I don't need you to agree or anything, but just little pat on the shoulder every couple months. Well, that's fuel that keep us going, boy. We ready to run through a brick wall.
My
That I'm
God,
proud. That
this
I'm
is what I
proud of
preach to
you.
my guys every
That I'm
day. I
proud
preach
of
that
you,
to my
man.
guys.
Man, boy, we ready to run through a brick wall, man. Hear somebody say that they proud of us, man. You just said you proud, man. What? What? I'll do anything for you, man.
Yeah, you get real sentimental. You get real sentimental as a man because, and it's a difference. Like I preach to my guys every day. Like I work around a lot of macho men, and I often remind our leadership team, like, hey man, make sure y'all patting these guys on the back. Make sure y'all telling them, they're doing a
Yeah,
great job. Like, remind them of that daily. As men, we can handle it. It's fuel for us. Now, a
yeah,
woman, on the other hand, you compliment a woman too much, she go deaf. I don't even hear you no more. There's only so many times you call a woman beautiful.
yeah,
but but as men, we're not used to being complimented very often, so we get it.
yeah.
That's fuel for
Hmm.
us. So
Yeah,
yeah, like you said, I completely
like
agree.
like
Definitely
you like
about the support.
I know you've seen the memes before on Instagram where little videos where the guys at work, man, having a rough day, man. Boss is all up his ass, man. Pause, man. But he get that text message from his wife. Hey, man, I love you, proud of you, appreciate what you do for the family. He look at that phone, man. Boy, you can't tell him nothing, man. You can't tell him nothing, man. And sometimes you just gotta manipulate the universe a little bit, man. Y'all might have just got into an argument. You might not even believe what you just said right there to there. But man, man, I'm telling you, but that's fuel for us. Like, that's fuel, boy. We ready to go do a whole 100 hours 1 week. Make sure the family good, man.
So, with that said, man, making sure the family is good. I strongly believe that as a man, if you don't take advantage right now of this gold rush that we in, where 90% of the world don't know what Bitcoin is, couldn't tell you what it is, couldn't spell it, don't give a fuck about it. You're still going to be confronted with that conversation from your children in the future
Man,
when they ask you, "Hey, Dad, tell me something. When you was a lot, Bitcoin was how much?"
why,
Oh
why,
yeah, I seen it at
why?
10,000, 15,000, and you didn't think to get none of
You ain't
that.
you ain't got none of it?
You didn't get none. So what did you spend your? What was important to you at the time, Pop?
Like, there gotta be something. Like what we
Whatever you were
got? You
paying
got you
attention
got
to.
you got a hidden somewhere or something? 'Cause,
So we're all going to be confronted with that, and if it's not from our children, guess what? It's going to be from our damn selves.
for real, for real.
Regret is going to
For
be the
real.
name that we give a lot of financial decisions that we made over the course of our lives that did not include this protocol, man. So as I go to bed tonight, I'm going to sleep really good tonight knowing that my household is mining Bitcoin actively. During this conversation, my Satoshis are stacking up. And for the first time ever, I see a clear path, like nothing in my way, a clear path to one Bitcoin. That's my life
So
goal. That's my life
man,
mission.
Absolutely,
I got to
man.
keep this miner
Absolutely.
running, and I just need an electrical source.
Yep.
So this is my version of making sure the fam is good, bro. But
Yeah.
hey, man, listen, bro, I really appreciate you joining me for this discussion, man. Appreciate you, being able to get some of your time out your busy schedule. I want to make sure we get on here and do this again, man. But before I let you go, man, any last words of wisdom, man? Where can the people find you at? What's your social handles? Hold on.
You gonna make me do all that, huh? So, um, we got big plans coming for the summer. As far as um, don't want to get into too much of it, but we got plans for the summer with trying to help out our close friends and family, with showing them different options of what they can do, to put themselves into a better situation. And so excited about that, to come forward through the summer. And then, as far as social media, you can follow me on Ken the Adjuster. That's Ken the Adjuster. That's on everything. Twitter, X now, Instagram, Facebook is just Ken Robinson. Well, definitely was a pleasure. I don't know, man. I was a little bit, I don't know, I feel like I was a little nervous, man. We got to do this again. I got to get a little bit more comfortable, but you already know it. As you practice more and as you get out here, you get better. So I appreciate you for getting me out my comfort zone. And I, this has been on the agenda for a little while now. You
Right.
finally got me out here. I appreciate that. Look forward to us having another conversation here coming some form of the way in the future soon.
Yes, sir. And listen, man, if y'all got any value from this podcast, do me a favor. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, man, for more personal content like this, where we had these heart to heart, down to earth discussions, man, about stuff that we experience is not just men, but as adults, people who got to adult in this tough economy, this tough world. Make sure you like the video, share it with a friend, and we'll see y'all back on the next one. Peace.